look of where the pros in the know are not where you want to go. Spent around 7k on the car, the Orion, utterly stripped. No progress was being made. Other people that had been treated in a similar way to end up picking up his van with the job incomplete. Unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of people are out to scam people. I am an utter amateur when it comes to working on my own cars, and I'm regularly advised by people that watch my videos to just give my cars to the professionals and get things done properly. Unfortunately though, there are too many examples we hear about on the internet where people have taken their cars to the professionals to only end up getting let down. Now, if you are a regular viewer of my content, please click the like button now because it's a massive help. Alternatively, if you're new to the channel, click subscribe now and welcome. I'm Marcus Hayes, and today we're going to have a look at a few examples of where the pros in the know are not where you want to go. Now, the great thing about giving your car to the professionals to get jobs done, whether it be servicing, whether it be modifications, whether it be full-on restorations, is that you have none of the anxiety about if the job's going to get done, how well the job's going to get done. You know, that is the upside of giving your cars to professionals, right? But that's not always the case. You know, we do see examples on the internet where people have entrusted professionals and they just haven't ended up getting what they've paid for. And it's great that we live in the internet age because we're able to see these examples, which means that hopefully we can avoid going to these companies that have let other people down and avoid going through the heartache that you go through if someone doesn't do a job on your car correctly. Because we're in the internet age, it means that we're able to make informed choices about who we're going to send our car to before we send our car anywhere. So, you know, you can have a look at previous jobs on posts on the internet and, yeah, decide where you're going to send your car to. But all this doesn't avoid the fact that people still end up getting let down by so-called professionals. Now, I want to start by mentioning a post that I saw recently on the West London Classic Ford page, where a guy called Sukhvinder Lohat appears to have posted on the Ford Orion owners group to basically ask for help. And I'll read the post. It says, "Hi everyone, I need people's help. I have a Ford Orion which I've had for 25 years. I gave it to someone to restore and upgrade a few things on the car. I've bought brand new wheels and tyres, 3 12-inch subwoofers, 3 2,500 watt amps, wiring, etc. Basically, I've spent around 7k on the car, and the guy has done one and took the car." And it says here where he was last located, in a place in Datchet, and the post says that he didn't know if this was a unit or what, gives the registration of the car and mentioned that it was stripped to a bare shell. It gives the guy's name here as Michael Rampersad, whether that's a real name or not. Says he's a dark-skinned Asian with a strong patois accent as he's from Trinidad. And it says, "This is how my car was last," and that's the guy. And attached to this post was a picture of the Orion, utterly stripped, and a picture of this guy who has apparently taken on this job and then just done a runner. The post gives Sukhvinder's number so that people can contact him if they have any information about the Orion. So it seems that this guy who had entrusted the professionals to work on his Orion has somehow got hold of a photo of his Orion utterly stripped, but at this point, when he posted this post, he didn't have the car back. And what a devastating situation to be in. You can imagine, you know, dropping your car off to a professional to get some bits done. It said that he'd spent 7k on parts, so I'm guessing that some of the upgrades that were going to be getting done on the car maybe involved getting those parts fitted properly. But either way, you know, this Sukhvinder would have been looking forward to getting his Orion back and enjoying the car on the road, also enjoying this sound system that he'd paid for. And then it just turns out that he ends up finding a picture of the car stripped and realises that the guy has basically scammed him, potentially stripped his car and, got rid of the parts or whatever and disappeared. Now, I've been in situations before where people have taken a bit longer to do jobs. It just seems like everyone in the car trade takes on a bit more work than they can handle. I've even had situations where I've had a company doing a job on my car and it's just taking too long. And then I basically lose my patience and decide that I'm going to take the car elsewhere. And then at that point, miraculously, the company is then able to fit you in, right? But this takes things to another level. The guy was obviously waiting to have the work done on the Orion, and then he ends up discovering a picture of his car stripped, and then it seems that the guy had disappeared. Now, one bit of good news about this story is that the Orion was actually found, and it seems like it was actually found by my good friend and patron to this channel, Barry, who also owns a really cool Orion. His is Z-Tech turbo powered. Shout out to Barry if you're watching. And from what I can make of it, it seems like the car was actually found at or nearby to this address that Sukhvinder put in the post to say that that was the last known place where this guy was. And apparently that address is a small industrial estate with loads of body shops and garages. Now, when Barry came across the Orion, he posted this video. And it looks like there's a load of other cars that are potentially stripped or in a state in that same yard. So I wonder if any of those other cars are cars that were customers of this guy that have been let down. Have any of those cars been stripped for parts? We just don't know. But it seems like Sukhvinder has now got his Orion back, albeit in a much worse state than when he dropped it off to this guy to have work done. And in fact, a comment from Simon Longworth in that exact post shows that this isn't an isolated incident. Simon says that a similar thing happened to him with a garage in Lincoln. They even went as far as registering the car to them. So they were basically trying to legally steal the car from Simon, which is, just another level of, a piss take, to be honest. Now, this story with the Orion actually reminds me of similar situations that happened to 3 different UK automotive YouTubers. They're all way bigger than my channel, and I'm not sure if any of you guys watch these other channels. I unfortunately don't get to watch every single video from every single YouTuber that I like because I live such a busy life, but that's just how it is. But I remember quite a while ago, Ricky from the channel Living Life Fast, or LLF, he had a Civic that he'd already turbocharged. I think it was running 400 horsepower, or maybe that was sort of a first stage and then he developed it further. This is a build that he was gradually progressing with. And he then decided that he wanted to convert it to 4-wheel drive and, take things further with the power and stuff as well. So he sent it to a guy to do the 4-wheel drive conversion. And then about 12 months later, basically had to go and pick the car up because no progress was being made. This seemed like one of those cases where the guy that Ricky was getting to do this 4-wheel drive conversion was just too busy and had taken on way too many jobs, and when Ricky went to pick the Civic up, it was basically looking in a right state. It looked like a scrapyard car. It was all stripped. The centre of the floor had been cut out to make way for the 4-wheel drive system, but no tunnel had been welded in or anything like that. And if I remember rightly, the guy admitted to using the Civic as a place to store his dogs whilst he was working on other cars. So yeah, a really stupid thing to do when you're working on a car that's owned by someone that's got such a massive following online like Ricky at LLF. Now, unfortunately, during the series of videos where Ricky was exposing this guy, he found loads of other people that had been treated in a similar way. So this wasn't just an isolated incident where the guy had got a bit in over his head with work. He had actively let down multiple people. And when Ricky did eventually take the car to another company to have them finish the job, he actually discovered that his ECU and his throttle body was missing. So again, you can say that this isn't just a misunderstanding. There were actually parts missing. So technically that's theft, isn't it? And Ricky did actually seek legal advice about how he could potentially chase up this guy legally. Now, in the video where Ricky took the car to another company, I don't think they actually mentioned exactly what direction they were going to go with the build, whether they were going to carry on with the four-wheel drive conversion or whether they were going to, do something completely different. Yeah, I'm not sure. So if any of you guys watch LLF and you know any more details about what happened to Ricky's Civic, do let me know in the comments. Next up, I want to talk about a similar situation with DMO DJ, another big YouTuber in the UK automotive scene. DMO's certainly a personality, you could say. I find his videos quite funny to watch. Maybe in small doses. He might be a bit too much for some people. But he had a transit van, which he was going to turn into a 1,000+ bhp monster by doing a conversion using the 5-pot lump from a Focus ST. And he entrusted a company to do the conversion, and apparently it was going to be the second one in the country. The guy was doing the first one in the country at the time that DMO got him to do his one, and yeah, DMO's was going to be the second one in the country. But it just didn't happen, and DMO had to end up picking up his van with the job incomplete. To make things worse, a lot of the parts that DMO had supplied for this big power build were missing, and apparently DMO even bought some parts for the guy that was going to be doing this build, and that was supposed to be taken off the bill, and those parts were gone as well. And apparently the guy even scrapped the donor ST Focus. Now, DMO being DMO, obviously tracked the guy down and exposed him on camera multiple times, and the guy ended up calling the police, and yeah, the situation just got really messy. Now, DMO did end up getting that van built by another company, and he actually dubbed the van the F Fabian van because the guy that let him down in the first place was called Fabian, and yeah, it was a bit of a beast. Over 1,000 horsepower apparently, exhaust coming out of the passenger side wing, spitting flames and all sorts. Yeah, a really mad build, but DMO is a bit of a mad guy. Now, I think DMO is probably the last person you want to let down with his character and his enthusiasm for his cars and stuff, and with the way that he's quite willing to make a load of noise, and the way that he multiple times turned up to expose this Fabian guy. DMO has a huge following online that he calls the DMO Army, and I remember that people would be getting in touch with him all the time to say where this Fabian was so that DMO could just turn up whenever he wanted to poke the camera in Fabian's face. And look, rightly so, if someone's doing that to a YouTuber, who else are they mugging off, with DMO's following online? Why shouldn't he use that as a way to expose this guy? But yeah, again, just a really dumb thing to do, letting down and thieving from potentially a YouTuber with such a massive following. But there you go. Now, another example of this sort of thing happened more recently with Jamie on the Officially Gassed channel. And I haven't watched quite as much of Jamie's stuff over the years as I have with DMO and LLF, although even with those two, like I say, I don't watch every video, far from it. But Jamie from Officially Gassed had this Seat Cupra, which was around 600 horsepower, if I remember rightly. And he decided that he was going to convert it to four-wheel drive, and it was going to run a built R36 engine from a Passat. The car was also going to run a sequential gearbox, which, if I remember rightly, he didn't actually get round to announcing. He only announced that once he'd picked the car up after the company had let him down. But yeah, when he got the Cupra back, it was in a right state. The engine had been built and installed, but installed really badly. And I'm not sure if any of the parts were missing or anything like that, but it was one of them situations where things had been done so badly that to continue with the build, taking it somewhere else, everything was basically going to have to get ripped apart and rechecked and then put back together. So Jamie's literally in a situation where he had to start again with the project. But he did decide to start again, and he's now taken it to a company in Austria to have the work done. And it seems like that car is then going to become a bit of a drag weapon, and it's going to be used around Europe for him to make content and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what happens with the Cupra moving forward. So yeah, there's just a few examples that I found online where people have taken their cars to the professionals and been utterly let down, and it's just depressing. You know, it's one thing when you try and work on your car yourself, you know, maybe you're an amateur like me and you have a go at doing something and you fail, right? That's depressing. But if you decide to not have a go yourself and give it to the professionals, there shouldn't be any anxiety about the job not getting done. You know, that's taken out of the equation when you give it to the professionals to get done. So when you do give your car to the professionals, you know, you entrust them with your pride and joy and they let you down, it is just utterly depressing. And you know, when we're looking at examples like this where parts have also been stolen, yeah, it's just really bad. And if this kind of thing is happening to these big YouTubers, then who knows what these kind of people would do to, you know, your everyday normal people. You know, there's people out there that don't even know about cars, so they are easily manipulated, let alone the fact that they might not have an internet following that might protect them from being mugged off, because, you know, the company might be a bit more wary to mug them off because they've got an internet following. Although in the cases that I've mentioned in this video, for some reason these really stupid people decided that they were still going to let down and steal from these big YouTubers. You know, they must have known that potentially it's just going to be put all over the internet and it's going to ruin their reputation. But I don't know, maybe these kind of people just don't think straight and that's why they're the way they are. But yeah, this sort of thing just shows that there are so many people out there that claim to be proper tradesmen that are just unwilling or unable to get jobs done correctly. And yeah, it's just a sad state of affairs. But look, luckily we do live in the internet era, so you can avoid this sort of thing, or at least somewhat avoid this sort of thing. You know, use the internet to choose the right people that you're going to be sending your cars to. Any reputable company out there that has worked on a load of cars, doing cool things to cars, will have examples on the internet of their work. You've only got to do a search on Facebook or do a search on Google and you should be able to find evidence of if a company is any good or examples where they're not any good. You know, loads of people like to post on Facebook groups and stuff like that when they've had bits done to their car, you know, to share with their friends the progress of their builds. So spending a bit of time on the internet doing some research can really help you avoid going through this sort of thing. And don't rely on people's word of mouth, you know, solely, right? Back in the day, that's all you had to go on. But nowadays, we have the internet. So yes, take recommendations from friends, which will give you a list of companies that are worth looking into. Then go and search for those companies online to find examples of their previous work. And try to hone in on posts that haven't been put up by the companies themselves. If you do a search on Facebook, hone in on the posts that have been put up by other people where they've posted on Facebook groups and stuff about the company, rather than just relying on the posts that have been put up by the company themselves. The company themselves aren't going to post negative things about themselves, are they? So if you're searching and all you see is posts that have been put up by the company themselves, then, you know, maybe take those posts with a grain of salt. But if you see loads of other people posting positively about that company, where they're tagging the company in their posts and stuff, you know, posting on Facebook groups and stuff like that. Now, if you see loads of positive posts like that, then you can be pretty sure that the company you're thinking of sending your car to is good at what they do. The other option, of course, is to just try and do as much on your cars yourself as you can. Maybe just start by doing simple servicing and oil changes and things like that yourself. You'll save yourself some money, you'll learn new skills, and you might even find that you enjoy the process of working on your cars. And then gradually you'll be able to start tackling more and more difficult bits on your cars. And who knows, maybe you'll get to the stage where you're like me and you pretty much do everything yourself on your car. And even if you don't, just having some understanding of working on your own car can potentially help you avoid being scammed by other companies. You know, if you turn up to a place to drop your car off, to have a job done, and you sort of sound like you know what you're talking about, then a company's probably less likely to try and scam you. Whereas if you turn up and it's clear you have no knowledge about how your car works or how to potentially repair it, then the person could just tell you whatever they like and you're just going to take it at face value, which makes you more prone to being scammed. Because unfortunately we live in a world where a lot of people are out to scam people. For a lot of people nowadays, money is way more important than their conscience or their integrity. So look, if you guys have got any experience yourselves where the professionals have let you down, or worse, let you down and stolen bits from you, or where you've ended up getting your car back in a worse state than when you dropped it off, let me know in the comments, or even drop me an email with your examples, and maybe we'll make a part 2 to this video at some point in the future. For now though, I am going to end this video here. Massive thanks as always to everyone who's tuned in. Do give it a thumbs up and a share if you thought it was any good. If not, feel free to give it a thumbs down. Check the links in the description to follow me on Facebook, TikTok and Instagram. I'll leave my email address down there for anyone who wants to contact me, along with a link to my own website and the Petrolhead Star website. Definitely go and check out both of those websites. Huge thanks as always to my patrons for your ongoing support. But other than that, until next time, thanks for watching.